Greetings, my friends. Please make certain that you are still subscribed to this channel because every day I'm hearing from other people that they have been unsubscribed without their knowledge by YouTube. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. So, gang, have you heard the good news? Palpatine was a clone, at least according to a revised version of Rise of Skywalker that apparently is being released this week or the next. The novelization claims that Palpatine was a clone. A little excerpt has been leaked, and I will read it to you now. Blah, blah, blah. His eyes were filmed over with milky blindness, and vials punctured his neck. All the vials were empty of liquid, save one, which was nearly depleted. Kylo peered closer. He'd seen this apparatus before, too, when he'd studied the Clone Wars as a boy. The liquid flowing into the living nightmare before him was fighting a losing battle to sustain the Emperor's putrid flesh. "What could you give me?" Kylo asked. Emperor Palpatine lived, after a fashion, and Kylo could feel in his very bones that this clone body sheltered the Emperor's actual spirit. It was an imperfect vessel, though, unable to contain his immense power. It couldn't last much longer.
"Everything,"
Palpatine said.
"A new empire."
The creature raised his ruined hand. Kylo sensed him drawing on the Force, but before he could react, his surroundings disappeared as if into a fog, and a vision filled their place. So, there you go. They're trying to say, hey, don't worry about it. Emperor Palpatine died at the end of Return of the Jedi. No big deal. All of your concerns about the Rise of Skywalker destroying the original trilogy are unfounded. See, it was just a clone all the time. To which I say, who gives a shit? Honestly, what difference does this news make at all? This excerpt from the Rise of Skywalker novelization is supposed to what? Make us feel better? Disney is what? Trying to spin this as a fix for the way that Rise of Skywalker completely shattered the original trilogy and turned the entire 9-film saga from the Skywalker saga into the Palpatine saga? Well, okay. Let's take a good hard look at the premise, shall we? Essentially, fans are disgusted that Palpatine survived being thrown down the reactor shaft at the end of Return of the Jedi, because if Palpatine survived, that means that Vader sacrificing his life to save Luke and end the Emperor's tyranny, and the rebel victory over the evil Galactic Empire was no victory at all, merely a delay in the inevitable victory of Palpatine. Palpatine's survival essentially makes a mockery of the ending of the original trilogy, a cliffhanger out of a finale. It betrays the intent and spirit of the original Star Wars, and it's yet one more piece of evidence that the people making Star Wars these days have no idea what they're doing. They thought, hey, Rian Johnson killed Snoke, fine. We'll just bring back Palpatine, a savory member berry that fanboys will be squealing with glee at seeing again like happy little piggies. Well, fans were squealing, all right, in pain. By Rise of Skywalker, every pillar of George Lucas's vision had been knocked away, with Luke disgraced and humiliated, Leia dead, Han slandered and killed, Chewie marginalized, and now even our memory of that happy ending was soiled and debased by the return of Palpatine. Indeed, by the end of Rise of Skywalker, it was even worse, because as it turns out, Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. All the Skywalkers are dead, and Rey takes not only Luke's homestead, his lightsaber, his sunset view on Tatooine, his farm, and his very name for her own, and thus as the sun sets on the Star Wars saga, the last one standing is a Palpatine, who now owns everything Luke Skywalker owned. Thus, in Disney Star Wars, Palpatine wins. His child inherits the universe. All the Skywalkers are dead, and thus Disney Star Wars is an undead clone of George Lucas's Star Wars, and the story is ultimately about how evil triumphs in that galaxy far, far away. According to the Rise of Skywalker book, this is all made better because no, fanboys, Palpatine didn't survive the end of Return of the Jedi. He died. There, so everything's better now. Happy? No, we're far from happy. What the hell difference does it make if this Palpatine is a clone or not? This literally makes zero difference. In the excerpt I just read, Kylo senses that the spirit inside this clone is the essence of Palpatine. So what damn difference does it make if Vader killed his original body, if his ghost then just happened to jump right into a clone body? So Palpatine is killed, but not killed. So what? How stupid do you think we are to take this rectal pacifier you've shoved up our collective asses as some kind of consolation? What effect does this actually have on anything? Palpatine gets chucked down the shaft and dies. His ghost emerges and says,
"Ah, phooey, I'll be back, you pathetic worms."
And his ghost jumps right into a waiting clone where it lives, schemes, plots, and builds an entire army over the next 30 years. How does this fix anything? Palpatine continues his bid for galactic domination. Vader's sacrifice still amounts to diddly squat. The Empire is not defeated, but merely placed in a temporary setback. And what of Rey? Rey still exists. Rey is still a Palpatine. All the Skywalker line is extinguished at the end of the saga, and everything Luke Skywalker had belongs to Rey by the end of the 9-film saga. It's sickening. So Palpatine, having temporarily died and then subsequently possessed a clone body, a body oddly cloned with all the damage Palpatine had suffered in his previous life, by the way, a plot point that makes zero sense. All of this is meaningless, and none of this fixes anything. What a lame-ass movie Rise of Skywalker is if you have to purchase a book in order to understand what the hell is going on. I don't know if this is some kind of sick marketing trick to con gullible fans into double-dipping on a property in order to decode it, or if this is simply a way to fix the incompetence of the writers who stink so bad at their job, some other writer has to come along and fix it. But I do know that most fans no longer care. The wounds inflicted by Kathleen Kennedy to this franchise are deep and grievous. The simple fact of the matter is, the problem is not that Palpatine was an undead clone, but that Disney Star Wars is. There are those who dispute the existence of the soul. This life is all there is, they say. There is no spark of divinity within us all. There is only life, then death. But I would submit to those who doubt the existence of the soul that watching the Star Wars saga is at least potentially a demonstration that the soul exists. There is a light in people's eyes, a presence that is undeniable. If you've ever looked into a pair of dead eyes, you can see the absence of that presence. That's one of the reasons for the uncanny valley in CGI, the lifelessness of the eyes in the absence of a soul. So it is with Disney Star Wars. Watch the original Star Wars trilogy, then watch the Disney Star Wars trilogy. Isn't there something missing? Some might call it fun, some might call it narrative coherence, others might say it feels random and disjointed, some might say the lack is merely integrity. I would argue that Disney Star Wars is like an undead corpse, animated by the necromancy of financial investment, lurching around doing the bidding of its corporate masters. But watching this thing go through its paces, something is clearly missing. That something might be deemed soul. Call it inspiration, call it joy, call it life. Disney Star Wars is obligatory, cursory. Disney Star Wars is Star Wars with the light gone from its eyes. According to the book, Palpatine was an undead clone rotting in a decaying body. I say the real problem here is Disney Star Wars is the undead clone. And whatever spark made the original sparkle in the eyes of Star Wars, in the eyes of fans, that spark is no more. Disney turned out to be a pet cemetery for Star Wars films. There is more hope, perhaps, for the TV projects. The Mandalorian isn't bad. It at least is being made by people who genuinely care about Star Wars, so if there is a new hope, it lies with Filoni and Favreau. But as far as the Star Wars saga on the big screen goes, the final 3 films are simply an exercise in necromancy, if not necrophilia. The thrill is gone, as B.B. King famously lamented, and so is the soul. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.